Hey everyone, this should look familiar to you guys who watched my previous video on the Liberty Westwind Trangia stove stand, which is what this is right here. And if you'll recall that video, I'll put a link to it right here. But I did a 2-cup boil test on this stove, and it ended up being over 10 minutes to do a boil. And there were a couple issues that we identified. One was that the flame touches up against the stove, which pulls heat away, and also that the way the stove sits in here, there's only about a 3/4 inch gap between the burners and the bottom of the pot. And other YouTube videos I've seen have shown that if you push that up to an inch or so, you get a much better boil time. So what I'm going to do is I've marked out here a 1/4 inch in this slot, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that out of the 3 pieces of aluminum so the stove will sit a 1/4 inch lower, which will bring the distance from the burner top here to the base of the pot a lot closer to 1 inch, and do a new boil test and see what kind of improvements we get. So here it goes. Alright, I got all the cuts wrapped up. I didn't do any footage because I thought it would be obnoxiously loud, but I was basically using a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade on it. Went pretty easily. Clamped the pieces here to the edge of the table to do the cut. A couple bar clamps, and then used a diamond flat file just to clean up the burrs and make sure that had a nice edge on it. And here's what we got. Basically looks exactly like it did before, except this gap here is a 1/4 inch deeper. I'm gonna get the stove set up real quick and get a boil test going for you. Alright, so I have the stove set up just as I did in my original video on the Westwind stove. I've got heat there, 2 cups of water in the same GSI Pinnacle Dualist aluminum pot with a lid on just like last time, basically replicating exactly everything about the previous test except trying this new depth on it here. So once we get it bloomed, we'll get the timer set up here. Okay, there's the bloom right there. Set the pot on. Timer started. We'll be back. Just past 7 minutes, and we have a rolling boil. Call it 7:05 for the rolling boil. So that's pretty great. That little modification cut more than 3 minutes off the boil time. You can see here the flame, we still have the issue with the flame licking up against the side, making this pretty hot. So you still get this heat sink effect, but not quite as much in this case. I'm gonna pull this off real quick. And the only thing I'm concerned about with this modification is if I can still use the simmer ring here. So I'm gonna set it to like half. It kind of works. It doesn't sit completely on. But still, you know, has its effect. It'll lower the flame down. So let's go really tiny here. See, yeah, I mean, it seems to work okay. So no real loss of functionality there. Let's go ahead and snuff this out completely. So there you guys go. Turn the boil time down to 7:05. By just cutting a 1/4 inch notch out of here. You can do it with a jigsaw or a hacksaw, have a file to clean it up, and that's all you need. So I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, 10 minutes and 30 seconds or 10 minutes, 20 seconds, whatever it was in my last video without the modification. And that's pretty long to be waiting for just 2 cups of water to boil to be cooking out there. But around 7 minutes, I mean, that's pretty doable. Most of the other Trangia stands I've seen here on YouTube can get about that time, so pretty happy with it. So hope that was helpful. If you have this stove, you might consider making that modification. You still get some clearance under here, so the stove's still held off the ground. You still have plenty of aluminum here, so you don't have any issues with strength. Overall, I think that, I mean, I think they should just redesign the stove and cut that notch a 1/4 inch deeper, and you know, you've got something that can easily compete out there with hardware cloth stands and whatnot. So anyway, enough of watching water boil. Thank you guys for watching.